today we will learn for, while, and do while and understand what it is because that is also one of the important things that you might need sometime in future when you learn some framework. So let's start. Okay, first let us start with the for loop. What is a for loop and why do we use it? See, whenever we have to execute a code block some number of time, let's say that n is 10 times, what do we usually do? Of course, we have a lot of tool, console.log, first time, I'll write first time, and of course, I can actually manipulate it. I can just select it and just do something like this. Okay, that's the power of the VS Code. And of course, Control C and Control V. But usually that doesn't happen. Consider the scenario I have to iterate over an array. I have to write the tables of 10, for example. What am I supposed to do? That is where these iterators come into picture. So let's start with the for loop. First, I want you to understand the syntax, then slowly we'll catch up. So the syntax goes like this. Of course, you have to write the for, open a parenthesis similar to if, and then what you'll have is, see, there are three sections and separated by semicolons. So that is one thing. And here we call it something called as initialization. Of course, it's not important to know. I have to explain you guys. That is the reason. I don't know spelling, initialization. Let's assume that initialization is this. That means I'm declaring a value. Here there is a condition which we have already spoken about, similar to the if statement. And then we have increment or decrement, INC and DEC. Okay, increment and decrement. About. Let's see an example. I'm going to say that I want to print number from 1 to 10, or let's say 0 to 9. Okay, why? I'll again tell you. For loop, initialization, I'll write let, const is again going to complain. So for let, usually we use I. You can use apple, banana, cat, whatever you want. I is equal to 0. That is the initialization part. And here is the condition. Okay, your block of code will execute only if this condition is true. Otherwise, it's going to come out of the loop, right? So this is the initialization part. This will be the initial value of our I. So the condition is I want my I less than 10. Okay, I can also mention equal to, doesn't really matter. This is less than or equal to. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to increment I. Okay, I'm going to increment I after every iteration. And I'll tell you why we do that, but let's try to understand this. See, this is the value declaration. I'm saying that, okay, I want to use a variable called as I, and I'm going to initialize it with 0. Okay, and then I want my I less than or equal to 10. The moment it becomes 11, I'm going to exit from the loop. And then I plus plus. Code block, console.log dot log value of I, comma, I. What happens? Let's see. Let's try to understand this code line by line. So that is the reason I'll just, pull this up. Okay, this is the maximum it can go, and I hope you can see. Yeah, this is better. Now, first time your I will be evaluated, okay, and it will be set to 0. Okay, and it'll check whether this I, which is 0, is less than 10. In this case, less than or equal to 10. Yes, 0 is less than or equal to 10. Now it won't increment this. It won't increment or decrement. In fact, it won't look at this third parameter. What it does is console.log of that I, which is 0 in this first iteration, and then it'll come back. It'll increase I, and the value of I is now 1. Do you think that it'll reassign? It'll do reinitialization? No. So at the very first part, when the first time the loop is running, I mean this for loop is running, only that time this let value will be initialized. I mean I will be initialized, which is let I is equal to 0. That will be the only time that this first set of for loop, or the first part of the for loop conditional statement, will be executed, and then onwards it won't look back. So after increment, our I will be equal to 1. 1 is less than 10. Okay, print that one, that which is over here. Similarly, 2 is also less than 10. Okay, so first I will be incremented to 2, print 2, then 2 will be incremented to 3, print 3, similarly increment to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Once 10 is printed, it will increment to 11, and I'll show you that it will increment to 11. But here what happens, 11 is less than 10. No, 11 is not equal to an or less than 10, so it will come out. For that, what I have to do is, of course, I have to console.log of that I, but I is not accessible outside, so it says that I is not defined. So I is available only to this part, this code block. So that is the reason what I'm going to do is I'm going to say let my I be undefined as of now, and then I will be equal to 0. And see, after that statement, when it comes out, I will be equal to 11. And this is very important to know. Now, what if I do less than 10? Will 10 print? No, it will print till 9 and the last value will be 10. Take up a challenge. The challenge is simple. What you're going to do is actually sum up numbers from 1 to 10. And finally, you have to console.log the sum outside the for loop. I hope the challenge was easy. Nothing to do, not that complex. You have to initialize sum and let it be let, because in every iteration we will be actually changing the value of this sum. And here what I want you to do is I said 1 to 10, so it'll be 1. And here you have two options. You can either mention less than or equal to 10 or less than 11, which also includes 10. But for readability, we will include 10, right? Less than or equal to 10. I'm sure for the beginners this might sound difficult, but practice is crucial. Of course, in the description I'll mention some things that will help you practice. Okay, well, let's start this off. So what I'll be doing is I'll not print anything. I'm going to say that my sum will be overwritten in the every iteration and it will be plus I. Okay, and then here I'm going to print that sum. So answer will be 55. Let's see how is it 55. So what am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to console.log of I and sum. Okay. See, in the first iteration, my I will be 1, 0. In the second one, it will be 2. 1 is already added. In the third iteration, I will be equal to 3, and 2 plus 1 is 3. Okay. In the next iteration, I will be 4. 3 plus 3 is 6. In the next iteration, this is my value of I, and then 6 plus 4, 10. Similarly, what will happen? 10 plus 45, that is 55. So this is about for loop. So similarly, there is something called as while, okay, which is similar to for loop. It's personal preference. People use different things, but again, it's on your call and real world use case what you want to use. Syntax is similar. While this is a bit simple, while and condition, but there is a catch, which will make a mistake and then learn what is going on. So I'm going to say const condition, and I'll say, well, let's actually try it out. So I'm going to say while, okay, while loop, and I'm going to say this I is less than 10. Okay. So here you cannot actually declare a variable. So that is the reason I'll mention that let I equal to, let's say 1. We've already dealt with 0. And similarly, what happens is here you have a code block. Okay. Just like you had after the for loop, here you have a code block. In this code block, you can do whatever you want. So let I is equal to 1. 1 is less than 10, which is true. I'm going to print console.log true and see what happens. Nothing happened or something is happening. See, you can see that the page is loading. I'll refresh the page and I'm not sure whether we'll get an error or not. I hope I could show you. But the main issue here is I is 1 forever. Okay. So this is not a problem. This is, you have to understand that in for loop, it is already taken care of in the third parameter, right? But in while loop, you have to take care of it. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say simple I plus plus console, and I have true 9 times because I haven't mentioned equal to. That is the reason it's 9 times, but it's going to be 10 times. Let's understand the value of I in every iteration. So first it's going to be 1, so it's going to print 2, then I plus plus 2, it's going to print true, and similarly for 10 it's going to print true, and then I is going to be 11, and outside, of course, again, to understand that whether I value becomes 11, yes, of course, it'll increment then come outside, right? So I value is 11 ultimately. So this is about while loop. So a challenge for you, you have to write table of 9 using while loop. A little bit complex, but just do your research and come back and write the code. I hope this was super easy and not that difficult. I'll write one more variable here, const value, and I said table of 9, or let's make it simpler. Let's say table of 5, and then we can change it to 9, no issues. So what I'm going to do, I have I is equal to 1, okay? So what I'll be doing is, of course, if this condition is false, again, if this condition false, it's going to come out of the loop. For example, I didn't show that. I'm really sorry for that. So whether 11 is less than that, I mean, less than equal to 10, no. So it's already out of the loop. So that is one thing that I forgot to tell you guys, but I hope it's straightforward. So let's try table of 5, then we'll manage with table of 11, I mean 9, sorry. I plus plus, this is a must, whichever the value that you want to increment and you have to increment, definitely, you have to mention it over here, that is in the line number 7, because otherwise I said your browser memory is going to be full and it's going to complain and it's not going to work as well. It's going to be a problem for you. I actually struggled to stop the browser. I had to restart it, but anyways, that is fine. I will print console.log I times 5. I times not 5 value. This is the reason I wrote actually. Why did I write 1? It should be I times value. Okay. You can implement in a statement that is fine, not an issue. So this is the table of 5. Okay. What happens? First one value of 1, and this is going to be constant. That is the reason I use a const value 5, and 1 times 5 is 5, 2 times is 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and things like that. One good thing, since I used a variable, I just have to replace this by 9. That's it. So I have table of 9 over here. So that is it about while loop. Real use case in framework. Usually, to be honest with you guys, I did not actually use it. I mean, for arrays, we have different methods. I was speaking about array iterators, and we do have different methods like map, for each. Of course, we'll learn those are really crucial and really handy. But yeah, so this is about while loop, and there is one more do while loop which is similar to that. I am not going to write it again, but I'm going to change that over here. So how will that work? Let's understand. So let's understand do while. Do while is quite simple. First thing what I'll do is I'll write I plus plus over here, and this is a keyword that says do. Okay, and then we have while statement, and I is less than 0. Let's say I want to show you something important. So here I'll have let I equal to 0, and then I'll have console.log of that particular I. Well, great. Now what is happening? See, this while condition check earlier used to happen at the beginning of the code block. It's the same for as well. But here it's the other way around. Your code will get executed at least once, and then your condition is checked. So that is one of the major reason people don't prefer do while, because you should be very careful. Your code block will get executed at least once. Okay. If I had written the same statement using a while loop, okay, while I is less than 0, console.log of I, and then I plus plus, and let me just write this is while, and this is do while. You can see that the while block doesn't even execute. That is because 0 is not less than 0, and it will go outside the while loop. But it's the other way around. Here it's going to execute at least once. That is the first time, and then it's going to check, okay, 0 is less than 0. I should not go for second iteration. So we have learned for loop, while loop, do while loop. Do practice this. Just get a hang of syntaxes. Just solve some good challenges, and you're good to go with this. And see you in the next one.